call the village council meeting in order. Please rise. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any additions, deletions, or changes to the proposed agenda for this evening? Roll call.
President Schneider,
Present.
President Pro Tem Dyke, Councilmember Feldman,
Present.
Councilmember Glasser,
Present.
Councilmember Kuligowski,
Present.
Councilmember Powell,
Present.
Councilmember Steffler. Present.
Communications. So we've been provided with ordinance number 208 relating to jake breaking, and we have a memorandum from our village manager relating to that issue, and apparently his research into the matter is that it's necessary for the jake breaking issue to be addressed with posting. Well, it has to be posted, is the long and the short of it. So we're what would you like to add in that regard, Manager Cooperson?
I'd just let you know that it had been brought up at the meeting that I wasn't at, so I took the liberty of getting a copy of the actual ordinance, first to know that we had it in place. Then I talked to MDOT. They confirmed if you have an ordinance in place, it can be posted and then enforced. So we figured out where it could be posted. We'll have to purchase some signs, and then I'll have to check with the village attorney to confirm that the ordinance number needs to be on the sign, but otherwise we'll get the signs up and then we can enforce. We can also ask the county and state police if they're in town to enforce. And I'm going to figure out if a traffic control order needs to be issued once we put up a sign, because in theory, if you don't have a traffic control order recorded with the county prosecutor, then you can't enforce your tickets, everything from a speed limit, stop sign, any of it. So that I'll make sure that we have that filed, and then we should be able to put a jake breaking task force in place if we'd like. But I wanted you to see that we did. There was a question whether or not we did have an ordinance in place, and we do. So
that's it for communications. With regard to the minutes for our March 19, 2024 meeting, they appear to be entirely in order. To me, anybody else on council have any questions, comments, discussions, statements regarding our minutes from our March 19 meeting? General fund. Streets, local streets. Parks and Recreation Fund. Downtown Development Authority Fund. Sewer Fund. Water Fund. Equipment Fund. Payroll Register Report. Entertain a motion. Motion by President Pro Tem Dyke, supported by Councilmember Steffler, to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimously adopted. Now is public comment time for any item on our regular agenda. Is there any public comment for any item on our regular agenda this evening? Being none. Moving on to the regular agenda. Engineer selection, East and West St. Clair reconstruction. Manager Cooperson?
Yes, I included a memo in your packet describing why this letter needed to be created, and you can see the scale I used to represent each of the qualified candidates for this project. The EPA group out of Chicago would like us to approve them moving, the selected engineer moving forward so that we can get the project started. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Just one little typo.
Oh,
Excuse me for taking my red pen out again, once again. The last paragraph of your letter to EPA, please let me know if there's any addition, line 1, the last paragraph. Let me know if there's any additional information I believe you want to add the word need to keep the Elmont project on track. Otherwise, looks good to me. Council, any commentary? With this, manager's asking for authorization from council to proceed.
I have one question. It's not, it doesn't change my decision, I guess, but how did you come up with the project experience numbers? Because Rowe is at a 3, and they've done almost every major project in Elmont history
Sure.
since for the last 25 years.
Yep, I'm happy to explain.
Okay.
So on this project, there was, from the beginning, they had to conceive the idea to do the extent and level of the project that we requested for the earmark. Then the earmark had to be created, renderings done, research done, documentation provided to the review committee for the earmark on financial status of the community, those sort of things. And then
Simplified, is it the work on this specific project compared
exactly.
to historical? Okay, that makes sense.
And they have done everything on it.
Right, okay.
So,
That makes sense. Okay, that clarifies it.
and the other one, I used this location, they got the highest ranking because they have an office in the county.
Right.
And then each one moves out from there.
Okay.
So,
Thank you for that. It's interpreting that.
Good. Anybody else? You know a little bit about EPA, Mindy? Any discussion from your end during this? Not raising any questions? It made sense to me. Manager and I discussed this previously, and certainly appeared to be the right thing to do, get the project moving and get EPA's approval. If there's no further discussion, entertain a motion.
Yeah, I guess I have one more question.
Please do. Sure.
Okay, so my memory, I know we got overviews. Did we get actual quotes of the engineering project work from each of these?
no, their monetary was not allowed to be used in this
Okay.
comparison. And again, Fleece Vanderbrink is the company that's been involved since the beginning.
Gotcha,
So,
okay.
I think I raised that same question at the meeting, last meeting or meeting before. It's like, where are the quotes? But yeah, they were not to be presented with the presentations by
And
each of
that's
the
due to the
engineering firms.
government being at a government grant?
Right.
So that is one of the rules of the grant that,
yes, it's called out in my emails to the gentleman that's involved too. So the bidding will come when it's time to build it. That's where we get competitive bids on the project. And probably we will get competitive bids. I don't believe there's a restriction for the construction inspection during the actual construction. You bring an engineering firm in to monitor equipment or materials, cement, asphalt, all the details related to it. They take readings so that we have accurate records down the road also.
Okay, maybe I'm dizzy tonight, but so they're designing the project. What we're making the motion on tonight is for this. So if they're designing the project, what would the bids be on later? The build?
Actual construction,
Okay,
and again, construction, inspection, and administration.
gotcha. So this will suffice for the entire engineering of the project?
Correct.
And they will assist us with the construction bids?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
Questions? Anybody else? Discussion-wise? Not hearing any response. Again, entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion that we name Fleece and Vandenbroek as the engineering firm to design the West St. Clair project as presented.
Support. Motion made by President Pro Tem Dyke, supported by Councilmember Feldman. I'm sorry, Wayne. Councilmember Glasser, so sorry. Wasn't looking over that way. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Objections? Unanimously approved by council. That finishes up our regular agenda. Let's see. Give Mr. Dyke an opportunity to raise some serious discussions. It'll take another 20 minutes.
I got a couple of things.
Okay. Public comment as to any non-agenda items? No public comment? No open discussion items, so it is time for council and manager comment time. Manager Kerberson?
Just wanted to touch base on some really small things we have. We're going to end up having to order bulletproof vests. The time has come when their expiration, they've reached their expiration. We anticipate 50% reimbursement grant, but we have to buy first, then get reimbursed. And then, of course, we can use our safety millage to cover the difference on the vests. So we'll be likely bringing you a motion to approve buying those because there'll be enough of them. It'll be, I think, over $5,000. So that'll come to the next meeting. We've been having a lot of communication with Lara over the social district. They kind of threw us a curveball that I've never heard before. The lady in charge of reviewing the package has asked us if the establishments involved, if their license includes their patio. Well, it's been difficult for us to find that out because some of the property owners were unavailable. So Angela has uncovered those answers, and we'll be getting that over to them, and hopefully we can wrap up the approval of the social district, and they'll send us back the approval for you guys to give the second approval, and then it can be wrapped up and done.
Question. When you refer to Lara, are you, I'm asking more specifically, is that Michigan Liquor Control Commission?
Yes, the lady's title is Michigan Liquor Control Commission representative. So
Lady? Do you have the name of the lady?
Brittany is her first name.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've had dealings with her. Okay, yeah, I wanted to know that specifically.
Laura's licensing and regulatory affairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, a much broader category of incorporating, I don't know, 250 agencies. Yeah. It's hyperbole, but yes.
And the final item, at one point I had mentioned, we asked Great Lakes Water Authority to partner with us and do some training at the wastewater treatment plant. They did a thorough inspection of the facility, have written a report about what they've discovered, and they have contacted Clinton to arrange training. I believe it'll be within the next 2 weeks. It's a 2-day training, and they will come up, they'll bring their equipment, manpower, and train the staff, and then give us detailed recommendations on the safety protocols we need to improve or correct or add to. I know there's some signage issues that they'll highlight, but it's moving forward. So that'll be a nice piece of training to have under the belt for those employees.
Good.
And that's it.
Thank you. Kim, anything to bring to council?
No, sir.
Wayne?
Not tonight.
Pete?
Oh, I'm all good.
Tim? Proceed.
This is not me bringing this up, these are concerns that have been brought to me. And I know it's early and it's partly not our jurisdiction, but I still need to bring them up. So the first one is the Heritage Festival, closing of Main Street. I'm getting people that live on Main Street concerned about how they have access, egress in and out, like they're shut in for the day. And they're asking that that be put into consideration when the planning's done for the Heritage Festival. I did refer them to telling them that that is DDA jurisdiction, that they plan it, they put on the event, but council does approve the M53 and the street closure. So I just want council to be aware that there are concerns out there, and for our DDA representatives to take those concerns to the discussions when that is being planned out.
Just quickly comment on it. I had said to my face, I almost fell on the floor, objection to the Heritage Festival being conducted at all. So that is out there as well. Mainly from the crowd
And in
opposing
relation,
the social district
in-
altogether.
in relation to the Heritage Festival, there's rumors, plans, I don't know, about the beer tent being put split on St. Clair by the church parking lot. And there's concern of that, where the location is that close to the church. That was also brought to me, so when the planning takes place, I hope that they're asking that those concerns be at least be respected and seeing if they could be placed elsewhere.
Sitting on the DDA board, that's not under consideration whatsoever. So out in the wind, you can hear anything.
It's out in the wind, but the wind is being brought to me and it's our responsibility to bring it here.
Sure,
So,
yeah.
And I think one of our lessons learned though from last year was probably a subcommittee with the DDA for planning specifically for traffic control and traffic patterns and coverage, because some of us did learn almost the extreme hard way why we don't want vehicles coming down Van Dyke when they're not supposed to be.
That's a serious concern.
In all openness, each person I've talked to, I said they also need to bring these concerns directly to the DDA because that's where that functionary is.
Good.
But since we're not an overseeing committee, but we are the governing body of the village, each council member should be aware that these concerns are being raised. On a more positive note, I received a phone call from a source I will not reveal that was giving Mr. Curbison some very high praise. And the job he is doing and how he is doing it and how effective he's been. So I also wanted to share that. Oh, and one other thing, the police department. We had I won't mention where, but I had an incident around my neighborhood where a female was getting home alone with their little one, and their security camera she also caught it. She was walking towards her door, looked back, a car had come up, stopped and stared at her directly. It was at night, but she saw it, she had it on video. She called the Almont police and they responded and she praised them for the work they did. And then they insured her and she verified it through her security camera that they made rounds several times throughout the night just to make sure she was safe. So sometimes our police don't get all the praise, but that happened a couple of weeks ago. And I think in the Castle last meeting, I forgot to bring it up, but I wanted to say that the police did a wonderful job. I think I've satisfied the record, so we're good to go.
The record is safe.
Okay, Mindy?
Sure. So the park board meeting was last week. I was not able to attend, so I was out of town. To get a copy of the draft minutes, just so I could provide you guys with some updates. Mostly just odds and ends on wrapping up the pavilion expansion project. Just some real minor updates to the kitchen, just like painting and just so it looks cleaner for people who are renting. There are still plans to remove the old bandstand, and park board president has put it out on Facebook if anybody wants it. I think it's the Trex material. It's up for grabs, so I just wanted to put that out here as well. So far there hasn't been any takers that have come forward to offer to remove it that have come through, so that's still out there. In addition, the park board voted to participate in the Earth Day cleanup being organized by DDA. So there'll be an opportunity to help clean up downtown park as well as the Almont Community Park. And I believe I mentioned this in the last meeting that we plan on having the Clinton River Watershed Council come present at the April park board meeting and then the following May council meeting. So I think that is it on park, unless anyone has any questions.
I have one question that's not related to anything you said. And I think I know the answer, but the township bought the baseball fields. Is that considered the township jurisdiction, or is that part of the parks?
I
It's
don't
township.
believe, yeah.
Township only.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my
That's
understanding
what I
as well.
thought. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not what's
Thank you.
wrong with the park board. Yeah, it's strictly a township
Okay.
jurisdiction.
Only other thing I wanted,
I would like to ask a question, since I never thought to ask you this. Did they agree to provide us a sign for the,
I haven't made a specific ask
Okay.
for the sign. That was going to be part of our discussion with the
Okay.
park board.
Thank
But yes, one of the ideas that we had been tossing around was some informational signage about the Clinton River and some of its inhabitants to provide some education. So that is definitely up for discussion. The other thing I wanted to mention was the trees along West St. Clair, the south side, bordering Rustic Bluebirds property. I noticed they were trimmed and then now are gone. I really do want to reiterate that I do believe that we need to have some type of tree policy in place for replacement of trees in the village, particularly our street trees, due to the character that they provide in addition to all the other benefits. So I still would like to have that up for discussion, as well as a budget for tree replacement for next year's fiscal budget.
Those trees came down by the DDA board's decision.
Right.
And if I missed that meeting, because I would have been hooting and hollering, but
Yeah, I placed forth my objections at the time,
yes.
and I think
well,
that led to the trimming, and then
Yeah.
apparently
yeah,
someone
it
decided
was
to take
important.
them.
But yes, we need to keep emphasizing that. Well, we had that whole tree city concept.
Yes,
If
yep.
we wanted to pursue that, and it should be
Mhm.
pursued.
Yep.
In my view. Thank you.
That's all.
Nothing on my end. I responded to your email about the gate there in Drakeshire that you pointed out, that you sent me last week on 327. Yep. So basically, there was a Dale toured through the Drakeshire Farm subdivision where the road was intentionally, was left open down at the one far end, was supposed to be going into the next subdivision adjacent, but that connection never happened. The drainage pond was back there. There's now the underground retention pond that sits back there, but it was noticed that there were several truck tracks going back there. Now, I've noticed personally several times during the evening, people just drive back there and turn around. I don't know what they're doing. I've never really seen anybody drive out on that field other than some of the township folks that have like tried to snowmobile and stuff out there. But yeah, I can speak to them about what it would take to get some sort of barricade across there, whether it's a gate or some large boulders or something, just to prevent people from driving out there that don't need to be out there. So we'll see what we can do.
And is this part of Caitlin's review of site plans around the village and compliance with that, with the standards?
Let's see if there, excuse me, Mr. President, we will see if there is something called out on the plans that should be there.
Okay.
So that's part of the review.
Yeah, it just looks odd over there.
Well,
right?
like I said, when the original, well, the way it was explained to me, the original development took place, that road was supposed to connect. Once the subdivision that's now Mr. Powell lives in was up and running, of course, that all got delayed with bankruptcies and, you know, this and that never came to fruition. So it was just truncated and left there. There was I know a plan at one time when they rezoned the property behind us to have that part of Drakeshire, but the developer didn't want to pay the extra fees and those sorts of things. So that was annexed out and now that was left kind of unfinished as part of the development. So yeah, it's a road that leads to nowhere. So yeah.
Right. And there's not really any place for people to turn around, right? Like, you get to the end.
There's
Is
they used it as a staging area during the construction. There is kind of a dirt cul-de-sac, if you want to call it there, but it's just more of a big patch of gravel.
Yeah.
So yeah, people do drive down
Driving.
there and turn around. I don't know if they're just looking or nosing or what, but I've seen several headlights down there because we can see from our backyard all the time. But yeah, I think there's enough boulders and stuff left out in the field. We might be able just to put some rocks across there just to, you know, wait, that should be a very low cost option. So.
To piggyback on that topic, Kim, did you ever have any luck locating the site plans for Drakeshire? And I know Brian was going to try and find the plans for the detention pond.
Yeah,
as well.
no, we did not. No, we have not found those yet.
Initially, when we get the transfer from Fritz to Tri-County Bank, and the Stroop brothers were a viable construction entity at that time, they were provided the opportunity to start developing the 112 lots. Only one lot had been developed when it was the property ownership was transferred over to Tri-County Bank. So that went back for back as I go, at least 20 years or so. And I don't know if they submitted site plans for that entire 112 parcels.
How many?
I think they only did about 10, and then
Right.
land got sold off bits and pieces. So it's going to be difficult to pursue, I think. But and you want to see the site plan because
Because as part of what Caitlin is doing around the village to ensure that if a site plan is approved, it's adhered to. And part of that is just leaving a street that leads to nowhere, sidewalks that aren't put in around the village. You know, these types of things are important that we follow through. And part of what Ed had brought forth about the open detention pond converted to an underground detention pond. I still have some questions about that, like why it was done. Does it still meet our stormwater standards? Who's responsible for maintaining that? Was that brought before planning
I don't
commission?
remember seeing it brought before planning.
Right. So I have some questions.
Unless it was under the auspice of the drain project.
But
Well,
should
we
that
don't-
have also come before planning because it altered an approved site plan, but we need the site plan?
That's
We-
what we were told it was part of the drain project, so.
Which, and village has no authority whatsoever. The drain commissioner essentially did whatever he wanted to do.
I don't think he has authority to not do a project in accordance with local standards.
And I have been notified.
I mean, that
Brian
issue
does
is-
have the plans.
Brian
Sorry,
has
Kim?
the plans? Okay.
Brian does have the plans, so. Mhm.
That issue was raised very frequently, and the constant response I got, we had no authority whatsoever to direct the drain commissioner.
That was
Basically,
my
I do
impression as
whatever I
What is
want.
the drain
That was my
commissioner is
impression as
county?
well.
Yes, he's county.
Commissioner is county.
He was elected county official.
But then the state would overrule that if they would say, hey, no, you can't, Mr. Drain Commissioner, because you're,
But when we approve the drain project, did we give up that jurisdiction? I mean, those are questions maybe we need to ask Gilbert.
Right.
So
Specific-
going forward, we know instead of just guessing.
Yeah, specifically, my concern is that we had an approved site plan for a particular pond that was altered. And should that have had to go through an approval process? Because that was not part of the drain. That was part of a system to manage stormwater from a development. So it's a little murky about how those two things merged into what we have now and who pays to maintain that system and that structure. Is that the county? Is there any type of agreement? That I think is important for what you're trying to pursue
yes,
with the homeowners association and for us to ensure that proper stormwater detention occurs. We do that to prevent flooding, property damage, those sorts of things. That's why we have stormwater ordinances, so.
And now that the additional development has happened back there, all of that water runoff is now going into that same pond, so it isn't just Drakeshire's pond anymore, so.
Right.
Yep.
And like, if you're taking capacity away, now it's not
Right.
serving the same purpose it was intended for, so.
Some of the loudest complaints I heard was the gradation, where some gentleman that was riding his John Deere tractor tipped right over, and he was lucky he wasn't killed. And the gradation is a severe problem, been raised with the drain commissioner, who said, I'm done.
Yeah, so,
Too bad, so sad.
entirely
Yeah.
a separate issue, but yeah,
But, yeah,
this one in particular, there's just
Yeah.
jurisdictional questions that I think we should have answered as the village, as the governing body over stormwater management from our developments.
Yeah.
And as Mindy's alluding to, so we don't have a surprise bill somewhere that we're not
Right.
prepared for.
Yeah, so say somebody does drive over that and damages it.
Yeah.
Who's responsible?
Maybe, yeah. And should they be paying for a gate to put across there? So.
Right, who even owns that piece of
Mhm,
property? Yeah, so just a couple questions about that.
anything else?
Oh, that is all.
Steve?
also,
I too received effusive complimentary recognition of our manager's performance. It was effusive. Very favorable commentary coming from village administration. So it was very positive, and I think the manager and I are very pleased to see that it appears that we will be able to hold a workshop that has been suggested by a manager. He actually is a visionary in terms of looking as far as what we can do to enhance the village and things that have never been presented before. I'm aware of some of those ideas and perceptions and conceptions that he has, and that's going to be a real positive. So the fact that there was some favorable response from council members. Very glad to hear that. I think it'll be very enlightening and keeping our village moving forward in a positive direction, and actually much more positive than previously. We're adjourned.
Happy eclipse.
That's what the 4-2-4-5.